My friend recently asked me, how do I deal with these lustful thoughts? How do I get rid of these lustful thoughts? I don't want to be looking at women this way, but it's coming in my mind anyways. These thoughts and imaginations, they're there. How do I get rid of them? He asked me this, so I figured I would make a video on it. And the answer might not be what you expect, and it may not be something that you've heard before from other people that make these types of videos. Because what I've discovered is you can't remove those lustful thoughts. There's a way to reduce them. There's a way around it, which is what I'm going to be revealing in this video. But you can't actually remove them. I'm going to give you a quick secret that I discovered. And I call this a secret because very few people are aware of it. And that is that the mind only works in addition and multiplication. It doesn't work in subtraction. So you can't like remove these negative thoughts, these lustful thoughts. You can't get rid of them. And the secret is actually what you try to avoid and not think about will actually multiply in your mind. So how do I get rid of these thoughts then? Well, let me give you a quick example just so you have an idea of how the mind works. So you have a practical application of it. For the next 10 seconds, don't think about monkeys. For the next 10 seconds, do not think about monkeys. All right, give it a try. See, monkeys are going to be jumping around in your mind now because you're trying not to think about them. So this is what happens when you're trying to avoid lustful thoughts. That's what your mind becomes filled with. And if you sit with yourself long enough in meditation and silence, and you observe your mind, you will notice your mind it's like a monkey mind. You can't actually control what thoughts come up. Now, I will tell you what you do have control over, and that is which thoughts you entertain. Listen very carefully here. You can't necessarily control all of the thoughts that arise in your mind because it's based upon memory and all of the things that you've experienced in your life. So the thoughts will be there. They're already there. You have a storehouse of memory. And when certain situations in your external world trigger you, those thoughts in that storehouse will come to the surface. You've suppressed so many thoughts, and this happens naturally. Feelings, emotions, they've been suppressed. So when certain situations happen outside of you, in this case, we're talking about lust, you see a beautiful woman, that lust arises within you, those imaginations start playing because you've experienced that before. It's arising. It's been suppressed. Now it arises to the surface. So when you sit with yourself long enough in meditation, you realize just how much you actually don't have control. And you simply observe the thoughts and you allow them to flow like water. You don't try to remove the thoughts. You don't try to resist them. You don't try to avoid them. You just allow them to flow and you observe it. And you observe it not in a way of judgment, but you observe it as the conscious, loving witness or loving observer, non-judgmental observer, just watching the thoughts. I don't know about your life or your spiritual practice, but for me, meditation has changed my life because when you sit with yourself long enough, you notice how the mind works and the tricks that it plays and the cycles that it goes through and the trap that it keeps you in. You can just watch the mind and observe, pay attention to it. You will see all of these things very clearly, and then you will know that you are not your mind. And once you understand that you are not your mind, the thoughts of lust that are there, that arise when external circumstances, people trigger them, you will allow them to simply flow and you will not give them any attention, or in other words, you will not entertain those thoughts. This happens to me. I'm out and about. I see something that triggers a thought that makes some sort of memory arise that's in my subconscious mind, and that storehouse of memory. I see a beautiful woman, my type of woman, I see it, and then these thoughts, the imaginations come. I don't give them any significance. I was telling my friend this. I said, the same thoughts that arise in your mind are the same thoughts that arise in my mind. The only difference between me and you is I don't give them much significance. I don't give them much importance. I simply allow them to be. I allow them to flow. But the thing is, you, my friend, he gives them a lot of importance. So he gets in his mind and he gets in this sort of cycle of judging himself, judging his thoughts. Why am I thinking this way? I shouldn't be thinking this way. I'm a man of God. Why are these thoughts coming in my mind? I don't want to be like this. He's telling me I want to, live for God. I don't want to have a lustful mind. But the thing is, the same thoughts are going through the pastor's mind. The same thoughts are going through the priest's mind. The same thoughts are going through the monk's mind. The same thoughts are going through the yogi's mind. The only difference is they don't give those thoughts any significance. They watch the thoughts and they allow them to flow like water. That's the only difference. The thoughts go through all of our minds. Now, you can get to a point where the thoughts are reduced. There are very few thoughts. These thoughts do not have much power over you anymore. And they're not even there as much anymore either. And this comes with consistent meditation. I will have chapters in my life, a few weeks, a few months go by, where those thoughts are almost non-existent. They don't even arise anymore. But then a couple weeks later, external situation triggers a certain thought, and I watch that cycle play again in my mind, but I don't give it any significance. I just let it flow. Now, sometimes the thought becomes so strong and it creates strong feelings within you that it then causes you to go and take action on that thought, on that feeling. Thoughts create feelings, and those feelings create action, and then your body takes action. Your hands and feet start moving towards that specific desire. This is why we have to be observers of our thoughts and not react to every single thought, not give much significance to the thoughts, and just allow them to be non-reaction. And when you practice this non-reaction, you become better and better at it. The thoughts have less and less of a grip on you. You become more powerful spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally. So ultimately, what it all comes down to is a practice that I give my clients, a practice that I talk about in my book, and that practice is non-reaction. And the actual practice is meditation. Meditation pretty much is just non-reaction. You're sitting there and you're not reacting to all the nonsense and turmoil that's going in your mind and all the stories that are playing out and all the thoughts and all the feelings that come up in your body. You're sitting there and you're not reacting to them. You're sitting there and you're focusing on the breath. This is how you ultimately overcome thoughts of lust. You can't remove them from the mind, but you can stop entertaining them and not give them much significance. Yes, they will arise. Yes, you may have feelings arise in your body too. Yes, you may even give in a couple times, but don't beat yourself up. First of all, be easy on yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Now do your best to resist the temptation, but practice non-reaction, because the more you do it, the stronger you will become in all areas of your life, in all aspects of yourself, in all aspects of your being. But don't expect the thoughts to just not be there, because like I just said, they're there for even the most holy of people. They just don't give them any significance. Now, sometimes some of you, let me put this out there as well, because some of you guys, and even me, we have to play these cycles out. And sometimes that requires physically acting on the thoughts and playing it through, going through the cycles, actually physically doing it. But the thing is, you're now conscious. You now want to live a life for God. You now want to change. You now want to become better. So when you're acting out those so-called sins, or your lower nature animal desires of the flesh, these lusts of the flesh, when you're acting them out, you are now conscious of it, and you're conscious of the consequences that come along with that action. So when you do it, you play out the cycles. You watch yourself as you play out the cycles. You watch how you feel. You watch the thoughts. You pay attention to the consequences, And then you will naturally realize that this is not benefiting my life anymore. And you might have to play a cycle out again and again and again. But eventually you'll get to a point, if you remain conscious of all the things I just mentioned, you will not want to do them anymore. You will burn that up. That desire won't even be there anymore, because you will realize that it's vain, it's mundane, nothing good comes out of it, it's temporary, and then you will start to function more from spirit. And then you'll become strong, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, just like I just said. That comes with non-reaction. But sometimes you're not strong enough to practice non-reaction, and you have to actually give into it, play out the cycles, and realize that it was never beneficial in the first place. The only benefit that it has is to show you that it has no benefit. So, with that being said, that's all for this one. Hope you gain value. If you're new to the channel, subscribe and leave a comment if it resonated with you. Much peace and love. I'll see you in the next video.